Hey everybody, Brian Fleischman here for Shorewood High School AP Computer Science. These problems that we did in the last unit are still kind of biting people a little bit. I thought I'd go over it for you guys and for anybody else out there in your AP Computer Science class running nested for loops to produce particular output. Let's look at this one. This one's a classic example here. We need to use nested for loops to produce an output that looks like this. So what I recommend is creating a table on some scratch paper or anything else. And we're going to start our rows just like usual. We're going to start on row number 0 and go up from there. And we only need, I probably could do one more row here since there really is an extra row. See if I can do that really quick. Add row below. There you go. So the strategy here is we're going to need to come up with some algebraic representations of these columns and how they relate to the row number. So we're going to have to use a little bit of Algebra 1 skills in order to get this done, and it's going to be really helpful. Okay, so let's just kind of like, before we get into the table, let's go over into our IDE and kind of talk about what we want to do here. Let's see if we can remember how many, let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 ones, 7 threes, 5 fives, 3 sevens, and a 9, okay? So we're definitely going to need a nested for loop for this. So let's go ahead and set this up. So we're going to need to print a row. So I recommend just kind of naming your variables by what they are. We're going to be counting rows. So some people, your teachers are probably going to say, call it I and call the inner one J. Maybe this will help by being a little more descriptive with our variable names. So the very first row we want to consider is row 0. And we want to go for as long as row is, how many rows do we have? Let's go back. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows. So it's as easy as that. If you start on row 0, you can just go ahead and say row is less than 5. That means row will start at 0, be 1, 2, 3, and 4. And if you count, that's actually 5 different rows that we're going to get. At the end of every row, we want the row count to go up by 1. Okay, so in here, let's just write some pseudocode. This is really going to help you if you're struggling. So what we want to do is we want to print some digits. And at the end of printing the digits, we would like to skip a line or go down to the next line. It just is a little confidence builder. How do we go to the next line? That's as easy as a system out println statement. For those of you who don't know that shortcut in Eclipse, you can write sys out and then hit control space and it'll just assume this is what you want. So printing the digits is going to be the hard part. So far we know we're going to print 5 rows. Within this loop, we're going to print some digits, and then we're going to go on to the next line. Okay, so this is what's going to really help us. The table structure is really going to help us for this inner for loop. Okay, let's go back and go to the pages here, and we'll look at the number of digits. So the number of digits is really how many ones get printed. There are 9 ones, there are 7 threes, 5 fives, 3 sevens, and 1 9. Okay, so the digit to print being this should be a 1, this will be a 3, this will be a 5, a 7, and a 9. So what we'd like to do is that the number of digits and the digit to print each have a relationship to the number of rows, right? So let's add one more row here. Let's see, add a row below. So let's make a variable down here, call it row, because that's what we used on the outside of our for loop. Now, what do you notice about the row number and the number of digits? All right, let's see if we can kind of figure out a mathematical relationship between these two. Oh, this is interesting. All right, so if you use your Algebra 1 skills here, you can see that as row increases by 1, the number of digits decreases by 2. It's like a slope, right? Remember from Algebra 1, the slope is down 2 over 1. So it has something to do with -2 times the row. So try to get the slope. It's a lot like, calculating a line based on a table, getting an equation based off of a table in Algebra 1. I can see the slope. It's a -2 slope. Now let's see if we can kind of figure this out, the rest of it by our mind here. If we do -2 times row 0, what do we need to get up to 9? Yeah, we need to add 9. Let's see if this works for the rest of them. If we do -2 times 1, that gives me -2. If I add 9, do I get to the correct number of digits? Yeah, -2 plus 9, that is 7. Let's check one more. 2 times -2. That's -4. If I add 9, do I get to 5? Yes, I do. So this is the correct expression for the number of digits as it relates to what row they're on. How about over here? This one's going to be more straightforward. What's the slope? As the row goes, let's see, this goes up by 2, and this goes up by 1. So it's a 2/1 slope. So it's simply a 2 slope. So 2 times row. Now let's see, it's not going to be that simple. Is it 2 times 0? Does that give me 1? No, that gives me 0. So I need to add to this. Oops, I'm going to go ahead and remind me later. I need to add 1. Okay, so is it true that 2 times 2 plus 1 gives me 5? Yes, it does. So what these become now are expressions we're going to use in the inner loop. Okay, so let's go back to our Eclipse program. This is going to help us. So to print some digits, we're going to say for the digit, the first digit printed is digit number 0, right? Not actually what we print, but what digit number it is in that row, right? So it's going to be the 0th digit in the row. And we want the digits to grow to be as big as, we did all this work already. We want the digits to grow to be as big as the expression that we came up with here. -2 times row plus 9. That is how big we want it to grow. So remember, it just depends on what row we're on, right? So depending on what row we're on, that's going to change, right? It's going to give us the correct number of digits. So we did all that math. This will print the correct number of digits depending on what row we're in. And the digit to print now, system.out.print. And here's what we're going to do. The digit to print, depending on what row we're in, we did this work. We want to grab 2 times row plus 1, right? So again, right, in row number 0, we're going to do 2 times 0 plus 1. The digit to print will be 1. In row number 1, 2 times 1 is 2 plus 1 is 3. Good, so that's going to print the correct digit if we put that in here, right? And then the next line is taken care of. So remember, if you can relate everything back to the row, you can get the correct number of digits to print, and you can print the correct digit itself. So make a little table. It'll really help you figure out what goes in here for your arguments based on what number of row you're in, right? So let's go ahead and run this, and hopefully it works. I think I'm going to be required to save. The console is kind of down here. And there we go. We get 9 1s, 7 3s, 5 5s, 3 7s, and a 9. There you go. I hope you guys found this helpful. Making a table is going to really help you get these problems right, and you're going to ace your computer science test. Please leave me some comments and some feedback if I can go over this again, or if you have any other questions you'd like me to try with you guys. Again, appreciate your time.